Good evening and welcome to Health is Wealth. This show is brought to you by CAN TV and the Chicago Chapter National Black Nurses Association. The Black Nurses Association, we meet the second Saturday of every month from 4 to 6 p.m. at the Lutheran School of Theology, 1100 East 55th Street, from 4 to 6 p.m. If you'd like to contact us, you can contact us at P.O. Box 4612, or our phone number is 773-792-7222. The name of this show is Health is Wealth. My name is Janice Henry. I am your host for today, and I'm very excited to have our guest, Mr. Marcel Action Jackson,
Thank you for having me.
With us today. We're going to talk about a program that Marcel has that's going to be of interest to you as a consumer. Everything that we do is not always related to diabetes or hypertension or something like that. There's other kinds of health, and that's what we're going to talk about today. This program that Marcel has. So Marcel, tell us a little bit about yourself and a little bit about your program.
Okay, well, born and raised in Chicago on the west side, Austin community, but now live in West Garfield Park.
Okay.
Started my first business at 15.
Okay.
So I'm 30 now, so I've been in business 15 years. I have a nonprofit that's been in existence for 10 years.
Okay.
And so the business is Rental Harvest, a monthly rent reporting service. And so what we do, and I love the title of the show, Health is Wealth.
Yes.
Because you definitely need good health to have good wealth, you know, because you can't make money if you're sick. But nevertheless, we started Rental Harvest 2 years ago to meet a need. So in the African American community, primarily, a lot of us don't have credit.
Right.
We don't have credit scores. And the national statistics are 1 in 3 African Americans are considered credit invisible.
Right.
They have no credit score at all. Mm-hmm. But the bills that we pay every month don't help build our credit. We pay our cell phone bills, we pay the cable bill, we pay the gas. But the most expensive bill that we have generally is our rent.
Right.
And it did not help build your credit until now.
Right.
So our program, we're able to take your past and present rental history and report it to the credit bureaus for you to help build your credit.
Okay. So a person like me who's lived in an apartment for 50 years, you know, I should be able to get a mansion.
Well, and that's it. You know what? We're going to work on it. So
right.
Your credit score will probably be mansion worthy, but we got to make sure we can pay that mortgage note too on the mansion. Okay. But we do report previous history, so we can take all 50 years of a tenant's rental history and report it to the credit bureau.
Okay. All right. Well, that's exciting because, like you said, you know, people that rent, I never thought about that until, you know, we started to talk about this at the hospital.
Yeah. So on national average, 1 in 10 Americans are considered credit invisible, and 1 in 3 African Americans. So what happens is when you run a credit invisible person's credit score, it shows NA. Not available, no score. Okay. And so we've seen through our program where when we've added rent to a credit invisible individual, their scores went from an NA to a 699 in less than 30 days.
Wow. Wow.
And
that
so
is exciting.
Yeah, if you know anything, if you watch and you know anything about credit, at a 700 you had good credit. You got some good credit. So this client was 1 point away. And so the program is a simple program. Consumers sign up, tenants sign up directly with us. We then verify the data with the landlord. Once it's verified, we report it to the credit bureau. And then we have landlords who call and set up accounts with us. And then we report their tenants for them.
Okay.
Yeah, so, and the biggest misconception that I get a lot in the African American community, what if I'm on Section 8? What if I don't pay but a subsidized rent? If your rent is subsidized, we report the full amount. Okay. So if your lease amount is $1,800, but you only pay $800, we still report the $1,800 to your credit.
Okay.
And another misconception I love, people are calling, well, I don't pay my rent on time per se.
Okay.
So a landlord might tell you the rent is due on the 1st. If you don't pay it by the 5th, it's considered late, and they charge you a late fee. For us, with the credit bureau, you have 30 days to pay your rent. So as long as you pay your rent within 30 days, we report it on time.
You done messed up. Oh, Lord.
Yeah, we get a lot of people don't want to do the program because they think, you're going to mess it up. But
Okay, do not call the Black Nurses Association about that. We don't know nothing about that. Okay. We're just bringing you information.
Right, so we want you to pay your rent on time. But if you've been late a couple of times, don't worry, it won't affect your credit. Because we're not trying to hurt, we're trying to help. So that's our goal, to help people. And the health is wealth title and statement, it means so much because so many doors open when you have better credit.
Right.
And I always tell people, when I learned about credit, and I didn't learn about it in CPS, and I didn't come from a family that we were taught early on about credit. I learned from trial and error. But credit is like the roots to a tree.
Right.
And once those roots begin to spread and the tree grows, the branches are car loans, low interest rates, business loans, credit cards, jobs, because now jobs check your credit.
Right.
So it's so important to have good credit.
Right. So, yeah, you're right. Most people don't teach their children about credit. They don't, I think most of our parents didn't really even understand the importance of having good credit. So I came from a background. My mother's an accountant, so so I understood. But still, that whole thing about using your rent payment as credit history is so important, because a lot of us just don't. For whatever reasons, I owned a home. I owned a building, but I sold my building. And a lot of people just don't want that responsibility. And maybe you don't want a house. Maybe you want a car at a decent interest rate. Or maybe you want a credit card at a decent interest rate. Maybe you want a job, or maybe you want a scholarship or something like that. It's just important to have.
The stigma is, and a lot of people say, well, and you're right, a lot of people, I'm learning, don't want the responsibility of home ownership, and they rather rent. And I know some homeowners, investors who own multi-unit properties, but they still rent.
Right.
And so now we're able to help people get credit like a homeowner, because when a homeowner pays their mortgage every month, it's reported to the credit bureau.
Right.
So now we're able to do the same thing for renters.
Right.
And we're the only African American owned rent reporting service in the country at the moment. And we are a national company, so we can report rent all across the United States of America, and prayerfully soon in London. We're looking to expand. But I love it because we've gotten testimonies of local community members. We had a gentleman, and the local newspaper did a story on us, and he told me I could use his example anytime. Leonard was about 47 years old, never used credit, paid everything cash, had a mechanic shop, no credit at all. When he came to us, he showed us his credit report. It said not available. And he was the gentleman that went from an NA to a 699. But what happened was, now he was able to take his rent history that he was paying rent every month and use that to acquire funding for his mechanic shop, to expand it to make more money. So there's a lot of great benefits. So
you mentioned that that you're the only African American rent reporting agency. Are there a lot of other rent reporting agencies? Because until we kind of had this conversation at the hospital, I'd never heard of a rent reporting agency. So there's probably about 5 mainstream companies in the country. There are a few little ones, popping up, popping out.
this data has only been accepted by the credit bureau for probably about the last 4.5 years.
Okay.
So that's why it's so new.
Okay.
And the only way you can use your rent to build your credit is if you go through a landlord who has to have at least 500 tenants, or you go through a rent reporting service like ourselves.
Okay.
Most landlords don't want the hassle of having to do the service.
Okay.
So then they contract with companies like us to help them out.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's good, and it's good to know. It's good information for people to know that that they can use their rent payments to help build their credit histories. So what? How would people get in touch with you to get started or to get some information?
Well, they can call us. Our office is actually located downtown Chicago on the Merchandise Mart, and we can be reached at 312-646-5287 or 312-767-5677.
Okay. What about a website?
Or www.rentalharvest.com. You can actually do everything online, find out about the service, and sign up if you're ready to use your rent to build your credit.
Okay. Very good. So, what else? What else are you up to, Mr. Marcel?
Well,
Action.
Right, action. Well, I joked today. So I do host a radio show, and so today, and I joked and I said, they don't call me Action for nothing, because I believe actions speak louder than words. So I'm on a mission to help 1,000 credit invisible people across the country build their credit for free.
Okay.
And so what we want to do is we want to identify those that 1 in 3 African American or that 1 in 10 American, any race, African American, Latino, Caucasian. We want to help those credit invisible people get on the right track. We want to create as many homeowners as possible. I believe that the roots of a lot of the violence in Chicago is economic.
Absolutely.
I believe it's because of the lack of home ownership. So we're looking to help 1,000 credit invisible people. We're looking to go block by block, and I'm starting with myself, and I'm looking for it. The goal was 10. Now we're down to 7 people who are interested in becoming homeowners. Well, we're going to take over a block and purchase the block. We're going to all buy property on that block. Because if there's 15 houses on the block and we own 10 of them, we control that block. And we can control the narrative. And so I can't say the world, we can't say the world, but we want to start one block at a time. And I believe economic opportunities for those of us who have been economically oppressed will help change the narratives in our community. So that's one initiative that we're working with. And I'm actually partnering with the Financial Social Club, which is an organization owned by Ramon, one of the owners of, he owns several establishments in the city of Chicago. And so we're working to make sure that we're helping people with his organization. We're helping people to start businesses, build their business credit, build their personal credit, and just all things financial. Because we keep marching, and I'm for marching. And we keep starting churches.
And we keep praying.
We keep praying. Yeah, look.
Lord. Selling dinners.
We keep doing fundraisers and nonprofits. But when are we going to start talking business? When are we going to start funding our movements? And not looking for a handout from the outside? Because the biggest issue is if we all broke at the march and who we marching against come and grab one of us and say, here go a check to get out this march, I think the march is going to be over. So I want to make sure that we're not out here marching broke and that we had the resources. One thing, history, if you understand history, Dr. King and the Civil Rights Movement was funded. They had funds. They had money. If you march and go to jail, they can get you out. But we keep marching, and it's like if you go to jail, it's their man for themselves. So that's why we can't get anything done. So when people call me an activist, I'd rather be called an advocate, but I own the activist word not. But I tell people I'm an economics rights activist. I'm fighting for the economically oppressed because in our communities, We don't have access to funding. We don't have access to capital. Our businesses can't grow because, and I've been a business owner for 15 years, and the worst thing is to be in business for yourself and still live paycheck to paycheck.
Absolutely.
Because if every fund that's coming in from your business is going right back out, you're essentially living paycheck to paycheck.
Right.
And so we want to change that.
Right. So, and you know, that's exciting. It's exciting, you know, because you're offering people an opportunity to do something for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that's the thing. You know, a lot of times some of us have made it.
Right.
And we left everybody else behind, you know. But that's the whole thing that you are helping people who maybe even like myself, you know, who didn't ever think about rent reporting as you know, something to build my credit.
Yep.
You know, and that's a good thing. You know, to start, you know, like you said, to on the block that I live on. People do when the majority of the times when somebody moves out of a building, somebody on the block buys it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it is a way to control the narrative of your community.
Yeah, because I stay so, and you know the funniest thing, Janice, is I work downtown now, and so when I Uber home to the west side, when I get in the Uber, usually when I'm getting in the Uber, it's a nicer car because I'm downtown, and when they see where I'm going, I see their eyes buck,
Right.
and when they pull up to the block and they look and they like. And then they're always, Uber drivers like, you be safe. And I'm like, you be safe. You know, this is my block. I'm not worried.
Right.
But see, now my neighbor's 83 years old, Ms. Archie. And if you notice, we clean up after ourselves. Now the renters down the street who's renting the house don't really care because they have no stake in that house, no equity. It's not theirs. And so I want to reinforce home ownership in our community. We need to go back to a community, and it takes in order to have a village, we got to own the village. The village wasn't rented.
Right. And that's it.
So,
You know, you can't be afraid of your neighbors.
Yep.
And when you when you don't own something or you haven't had any longevity there, then you are afraid of the people that are on your block.
Yep. And that's the saddest thing is to be afraid to come out of your own front door.
Right.
And my mother, when I was little, always said that my grandmother said, there's going to be a day when we won't even be able to come out our front door. And we have to put bars on our windows. And I believe we're living in that day now. But I told a young lady the other day, change is inevitable.
Right.
Because she said, I don't have any hope that things are going to change. And change has to happen.
Right.
Change is inevitable. It's going to happen.
Right.
It's up to us to direct the change.
Right.
Because either it's going to change for us or against us.
Or it's going to change us.
Or it's going to change us, right.
It's going to change us.
So we just have to get in front of that, in front of the change. And if it's not working, you know, if it's not broke, don't fix it. But apparently what we're doing is broke because it's not working. So we have to figure out other ways. And that's why I'm really trying to educate people on using economics as the tool. And I love history. And so for you viewers listening, and fact check me. I always say fact check me. If you look at every major leader, right before they were killed, their fight turned to economics. Dr. King's last fight was the bad check that America wrote. You know, he was economics. Medgar Evers, who many people don't talk about, and I noticed this in the movie The Help, and I started doing research. Medgar Evers, he was with the NAACP, but he was trying to get people registered to vote. But he understood to withdraw economic power from Jackson, Mississippi, and he told the Negro to withdraw their money from this city that did not want to respect them, and then he was killed.
Yeah.
So, you know, I told somebody that, and they said, well, you're going to keep talking economics, they might come kill you. I said, well, somebody has to do it, and we have to understand that. And that's why I love that the title of this show, Health is Wealth. It's more powerful. We got to be right mentally, physically, and economically.
Right. So, yeah, it's just important, you know, to have those conversations, even with children. You know, we just we've been passing out coloring books, you know, about teaching kids about finance.
Oh, that's wonderful.
You know, teaching kids about finance, because we, you know, children, they don't learn, you know, they don't learn it at home.
Mm-hmm.
You know, or I want to say they very rarely learn it at home. You know, kids don't have savings accounts anymore, or banks. They have credit cards that they can use, debit cards that they can use. They have everything. You know, when I was coming up, I used to sell pop bottles. You know, I used to dig through your garbage, you know, and get pop bottles, you know, and save my money.
Wow.
You know, but you know, kids don't do that anymore. You know,
No, we taught in our
everything.
community, go to school, get a job.
Right.
We not taught, make sure you maintain your credit, build your credit.
Right.
You know, the president in the White House right now has been bankrupt several times. But if we
Absolutely.
understood, he's not personally bankrupt. He's bankrupted businesses,
Right.
which didn't affect his personal finances
Right.
as much. And so there are a lot of things that we just have to utilize the resources that are before us,
Right.
and pay attention. And I like the finance coloring books, because I teach my nephew, who's 13, about being a business owner, finance. Started him a business when he was 10. And, you know, anything he makes money, get a bank account, we put it in there. I make him pay himself. And I was just reading an article, actually. If a parent owns a LLC, they can hire their kids and pay them, and then it's a tax write-off.
Okay.
But we don't understand some of
Right.
those things. So it's just very important. And our school systems need to put financial literacy back in the school. I know in Oak Park, because my nephew goes to school in Oak Park, he brought an assignment to me. He needed me to help him balance his bank account, his checkbook, and it asked him, how much is your rent? I'm like, I've never seen anything like this when I was in
CPS,
school.
right.
You know, so
Yeah.
we got to bring financial literacy back to public schools.
So we only have a few minutes left. So give us your contact information
Okay.
again, and you know, are you doing workshops, or do people just sign up online, or what?
So if you're a renter, if you're watching and you're a renter and you're interested in finding out more information, you can go to www.rentalharvest.com, or you can give us a call Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m., 312-767-5677. So no matter how long you've been a renter, we can report all of your previous history. If you've been in the house for 20 plus years,
Yes, sir.
we'll report that to the credit bureau. If you're a new renter, if you're 18 or over, if you're a husband and wife and you both want to report it, we report it. We don't ask. And for roommates as well, we don't say, well, Janice, how much is your part of the rent? Whatever the rent is, we verify it and we report it to both of your credit. It's a simple process. It takes 2 to 4 weeks for your rental data to show up on your credit bureau. And our average score raise is anywhere from 40 to 60 points. But I've seen anywhere from 5 points minimum to 699 point increase in less than 30 days. So it's a powerful tool. And no matter if you got good credit or bad credit, we actually have a couple of NBA player customers who they rent, so they want it on their credit.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having
And
me.
once again, I'm from the Chicago Chapter National Black Nurses Association. We meet the second Saturday of every month from 4 to 6 p.m. at the Lutheran School of Theology, 1100 East 55th Street. Our mailing address is P.O. Box 4612, Chicago, Illinois, 60680. And our phone number is 773-792-7222. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next month.